My dear YouTube family, once again you are heartily welcome on Folklore Fireside channel. All of you are not just my subscribers, you are my family for me. Today I have brought such a wonderful and real story for you that after seeing it you will wonder how can this happen before starting the video. I want to say one thing to all of you. You watch my videos, but if you don't like them or subscribe to the channel, please subscribe to my channel and support me so that our channel gets 100,000 subscribers soon and I get motivation by subscribing. So I will try every day to bring a new reel. Story before we start the video. You sit down with popcorn for the next 20 minutes and enjoy the video. Let's start the video. The village of Ireti, a fictional Sutu-inspired community nestled in the lush savanna of Kwara State, Nigeria. During the dry season, the village is alive with the sounds of bleating goats, the scent of egusi stew simmering over with fires, and the sight of Baobab trees standing like ancient sentinels. The story unfolds around the annual Ife Festival, a celebration of storytelling, music, and communal unity. I'm Tund, a palm wine tapper from Ireti, and I swear by my ancestors, I've never seen a tale unfold like this one. I was there, watching it all, every tear, every laugh, every heartbeat. Let me take you back to that dry season when the dust danced in the air, and a girl with a voice like honey changed our village forever. Hold tight, because this story will grip you like a python, and won't let go until the stars fade. In Ireti, where the sun paints the earth gold and the wind carries whispers of our ancestors, there lived a girl named Adesua. Her name meant crowned with hope, but hope was hard to come by for her. Adesua was 19, with eyes that sparkled like the river Ace at dawn, and a voice that could hush a crying child or stir a warrior's heart. She was a storyteller, the kind who could weave tales of Anansi the spider or the great Oba's battles, so vividly you'd swear you saw them yourself. But Adesua was poor, poorer than the cracked earth beneath our feet. Her mother, Mama Ireti, was a frail woman who sold roasted corn by the village square. Their hut, patched with mud and palm fronds, leaned like it might collapse with the next harmattan wind. Adesua's father had died when she was a child, taken by a fever that no herbalist could cure. Since then, Adesua carried the weight of her family's survival. She told stories under the Baobab tree every evening, her voice drawing children, elders, and even the goats that wandered too close. The villagers paid her with yams, a handful of naira, or sometimes just a smile, but it was never enough. I remember the first time I heard her. I was climbing down from a palm tree, my gourd full of sweet wine, when her voice floated over the village like a breeze. She was telling the tale of the tortoise and the moon, her words painting pictures in the air, how tortoise tricked the stars to steal a piece of the moon's light. The children laughed, the elders nodded, and I stood frozen, my gourd forgotten. That's when I knew Adesua was no ordinary girl. Her stories weren't just words. They were magic, the kind that made you believe in miracles. But miracles don't fill empty stomachs. The village elders, led by Baba Olu, decided Adesua needed a husband to secure her future. A girl with such a gift shouldn't waste away in poverty, Baba Olu said, his voice heavy with concern. They chose Tobi, a lanky cattle herder who lived on the edge of Ireti. Tobi was quiet, with a shy smile and hands calloused from tending his small herd. He wore patched bata and carried a walking stick carved with simple patterns. To everyone, he was just another poor man, scraping by like the rest of us. Adesua's heart sank when she heard the news. She dreamed of opening a storytelling school, a place where children could learn the old tales and keep them alive. Marriage to a poor herder felt like a cage, trapping her dreams in the dust. "Mama, how can I marry a man who is nothing?" she whispered one night, her voice trembling. Mama Ireti held her hand, her eyes soft with love. "My child, wealth isn't always in coins. Trust the ancestors. They see what we cannot." Tobi was a mystery, even to me, and I've known every soul in Ireti since I was a boy. He'd arrived in the village a year ago, settling in a small hut with his 5 cows and a goat he called Oyinbo because it was white as a foreigner's skin. He spoke little, but his eyes were kind, and he'd share his milk with any child who asked. The women teased that he was too shy to court a wife, but when the elders chose him for Adesua, he didn't protest. He just nodded, his face unreadable, and said, "I will care for her." The wedding was simple, held under the Baobab tree where Adesua told her stories. The village gathered, beating talking drums and singing praises to the ancestors. Adesua wore a barred aso-oke wrapper, its green and gold threads faded but still proud. Tobi stood tall in his patched bata, his walking stick planted firmly in the ground. I poured palm wine for the guests, watching Adesua's face. Her smile was forced, her eyes distant, as if she were already mourning her dreams. After the wedding, Adesua moved into Tobi's hut. It was no better than her mother's: mud walls, a thatched roof, and a single mat for sleeping. Tobi's cows grazed nearby, and Oyinbo the goat bleated at dawn like a village crier. Adesua tried to keep telling stories, but her spirit was heavy. "How can I sing of hope when I feel none?" she confided to her friend Funk, a weaver who sold baskets in the market. Funk hugged her tightly. "Give it time, Adesua. Tobi's heart is good. Maybe there's more to him than we see." I noticed Tobi watching Adesua sometimes, his eyes soft as he listened to her stories. Once, I saw him slip a small wooden carving, a tiny bird, into her basket when she wasn't looking. She found it later and smiled for the first time in days, holding it like a treasure. I thought, maybe Tobi's not so ordinary after all, but I had no idea how right I was. The dry season that year was crueler than any I'd seen in my 30 years. The river Asa shrank to a trickle, the grasses turned to dust, and the cattle grew thin. Tobi's cows were no exception, their ribs showing like the ridges of a calabash. The village whispered of hunger, of children crying at night, of fields that refused to yield. The Ife Festival, our annual celebration of stories and music, was only weeks away, but the mood was grim. How can we dance when our bellies are empty? Mama Ireti muttered, roasting her last batch of corn. Adesua felt the weight of it all. She'd always believed her stories could lift spirits, but now, even her voice faltered. One evening, under the Baobab, she tried to tell the tale of the river's spirit who brought rain, but her words stumbled, and the children wandered away. I was there, leaning against a tree, my gourd half empty. I saw tears in her eyes as she whispered, "What use is a storyteller when the people are too hungry to listen?" Tobi, as always, was nearby, tending his cows. He overheard her and approached, his walking stick tapping the ground. "Adesua," he said softly, "your stories are food for the soul. Don't stop." She looked at him, surprised by his words, and for a moment I saw a spark in her eyes. But she shook her head. "Soul food won't fill a child's stomach, Tobi." That night, I saw Tobi slip away from the village, his figure disappearing into the darkness. I thought he was checking on his cows, but now I know better. He was making a call, one that would change everything. The Ife Festival was Ireti's pride, a time when we honored our ancestors with stories, songs, and dances. The village square would transform, with women in bright wrappers, men beating drums, and children chasing fireflies. This year, though, the drought cast a shadow. The elders debated canceling the festival, but Baba Olu refused. "Our stories are our strength," he said. "If we lose them, we lose ourselves." Adesua took it as a challenge. She decided to tell a new story at the festival, one she'd been crafting in secret. A tale of a girl who sang to the stars and brought rain to her village. She practiced under Baobab, her voice growing stronger each day. Tobi listened, never interrupting, but I noticed he'd started carving more wooden figures, birds, stars, even a tiny river, leaving them for her to find. Each one made her smile, and I swear, those smiles were stitching her heart back together. But then disaster struck. A week before the festival, a sandstorm swept through Ireti, tearing through the village like an angry spirit. It ripped the roofs off huts, scattered the market stalls, and destroyed the festival stage, a wooden platform we built with our own hands. The village gathered, staring at the wreckage, their faces heavy with despair. Adesua stood among them, clutching one of Tobi's carvings, her eyes wet. "How can I tell a story of hope now?" she whispered to Funk. I was there, helping clear the debris, when I saw Tobi slip away again. This time, I followed him, curious. He walked to a clearing beyond the village, pulled a small phone from his pocket, a fancy one, not like the old Nokias we used, and spoke in hushed tones. I couldn't hear much, but I caught words like delivery and urgent. I thought, what's a poor herder doing with a phone like that? I should have known then, but the truth was still hidden, like a seed under the earth. The next morning, the village woke to a strange sound, trucks rumbling down the dirt path to Ireti. We gathered, confused, as 3 lorries rolled in, loaded with wood cloth and sacks of maize. A man in a clean shirt stepped out, saying, "This is for Ireti from a friend." The village buzzed with questions. Who was this friend? Why us? Baba Olu took charge, organizing the men to unload the supplies. By noon, we had enough wood to rebuild the festival stage and food to feed every family. Adesua was skeptical. "Charity doesn't come without strings," she told me as we carried planks. I shrugged, still puzzled by Tobi's late-night call. He was there, helping quietly, his face calm as ever. I noticed he didn't touch the maize, as if he knew it was coming. That's when I started to wonder. With the new supplies, the village rallied. Women wove palm fronds into decorations. Men rebuilt the stage, and children painted it with clay patterns. Adesua threw herself into the work, her story now a beacon of hope. She practiced late into the night, her voice echoing across Ireti, singing of the girl who called the rain. I'd sit nearby, sipping palm wine, and even Oyinbo the goat seemed to listen, her ears twitching. The festival day arrived, and Ireti came alive. The new stage gleamed in the sun, draped with colorful cloths. Women wore their finest wrappers, their gilly head ties like crowns. The drummers beat a rhythm that shook the earth, and the air smelled of pepper soup and roasted plantain. Adesua stood on the stage, her borrowed aso-oke shimmering, and began her story. I'll never forget that moment. Adesua's voice was like a river, flowing over us, pulling us into her tale. She spoke of a girl named Ao, who lived in a village much like ours, where the sun burned and the rivers dried. Ao sang to the stars, begging them to send rain, but they mocked her, saying, "You're just a poor girl. What can you offer?" Ao didn't give up. She offered her voice, her heart, her hope, and one night, the stars wept, their tears falling as rain. The crowd was silent, hanging on every word. Children sat cross-legged, elders leaned forward, and even the wind seemed to pause. I glanced at Tobi, standing at the edge of the crowd, his eyes fixed on Adesua. There was something in his gaze, pride, love, maybe something deeper. I couldn't place it then, but it made my skin prickle. As Adesua reached the climax, describing Ao's song Calling the Rain, a low rumble filled the air. At first, I thought it was the drums, but then I felt a drop on my face. Then another. The crowd gasped as clouds gathered, dark and heavy, and rain began to fall, soft at first, then a steady pour. The children screamed with joy, dancing in the mud, while the elders raised their hands, praising the ancestors. Adesua stopped, stunned, as if her story had summoned the rain. The crowd cheered, calling her name, and I saw tears on her cheeks, mixing with the raindrops. Tobi stepped forward, his agbada soaked, and took her hand. The village thought it was just a husband accompanying his wife, but I saw his smile, a smile that knew more than it told. That night, after the festival, the village gathered under Baobab tree, sharing stories and palm wine. The rain had stopped, leaving the air fresh and the earth soft. Adesua was a hero of the hour, her story already a legend, but she was quiet, sitting beside Tobi, her fingers tracing the wooden bird he carved for her. I was pouring wine when Tobi stood, his voice steady but loud enough to hush the crowd. "Ireti," he said, "I have something to confess." The village leaned in, curious. Adesua looked at him, her brow furrowed. Tobi took a deep breath and began. "My name is Oluwatobi Adebayo, and I am not just a herder. I left Ireti years ago, a boy with nothing but dreams. In Lagos, I built a company, an empire of technology that connects Africa to the world. I returned here, not as a billionaire, but as Tobi, to find a home, a heart, a truth. I found in Adesua." The village gasped. I nearly dropped my gourd. Adesua's eyes widened, her hand clutching the bird. Tobi continued, "I sent the trucks, the food, the wood. I wanted Ireti to thrive, but I wanted Adesua to shine. Her stories, her voice, they're worth more than all my wealth. He turned to her, kneeling in the mud. Adesua, I love you, not for what I have, but for who you are. I want to build a storytelling school, a place for your voice to teach the world. Will you let me walk beside you? The village was silent, the only sound of rustled leaves. Adesua stood, her eyes searching his. Then she smiled, the kind of smile that lights up the night. Tobi, she said, I married you for your heart, not your coins. But I'll take your help to make my dreams grow. The crowd erupted, drumming and singing. I poured wine until my gourd ran dry, laughing like a fool. Adesua and Tobi stood together, their hands clasped, as the village chanted a proverb. A single voice can call the rain, but true heart build a legacy. Months later, Ireti was transformed. Tobi's wealth funded a storytelling school, a simple building with a thatched roof and walls painted with stories of our ancestors. Adesua taught there, her voice guiding children to weave tales of their own. The village prospered, new wells, better fields, and a market that buzzed with traders. But the real wealth was in the stories, the ones Adesua told, the ones that reminded us who we are. I still tap palm wine, but now I tell this story, too. I tell it to strangers, to children, to anyone who will listen. Adesua's voice and Tobi's heart showed us that wealth isn't gold or naira. It's the love that binds a village, the stories that keep us alive. And every time I pass the Baobab tree, I swear I hear her voice, golden as ever, calling the rain.